Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and we got a story in the paper here that I want to let you know that as you see, the lead part here is Baker Act designed to help, not to punish. That is a lie. I've over the 3 years of running Charlotte County COPWATCH, I've heard countless stories, and I'm sure you guys have too, where they use the Baker Act as an excuse to search you, search your phone, search your car, search your house. And the Baker Act is bad. Here, from what I've heard, that ruins a lot of your rights. All they got to do is I think that he's mentally unstable and stuff. So then you're smeared with that. I think I've even heard they might even sometimes be able to take your guns when they claim that on you. And so here's your example. Just because I fight tyranny, I fight corruption with the government and the cops, even I did a FOIA search, Freedom of Information Act search at the Charlotte County Sheriff, even I am considered mental, that's what they said in one of the emails, just because I fight corruption. And in fact, there was a second person that verified that is what they think, because I fight for freedom and I fight corruption. When I met with the Punta Gorda Police Chief, Tom Lewis, he even mentioned that in front of me with my lawyer sitting there. He literally said, you know that they think that you're mental, meaning we could Baker Act you in a second, which, like I said, ruins your lives in so many different ways. Alright, so this article is absolute freaking bullcrap. They are using it as a weapon here in Charlotte County. Bill PRUMMELL is doing it. So is Punta Gorda Police Tom Lewis. This is a lie. This is why I'm making the video. Look into the Baker Act and how they just abuse the piss out of it to violate your rights, ruin your lives, and a lot of times take your guns.
This is a lie. Charlotte County Sheriff Bill PRUMMELL and Punta Gorda Police Chief Tom Lewis use this as a weapon. It does ruin your life and is abused by them. More than 50% of the time they use it as an excuse to take them away, be able to search the person and their car and house, etc. etc. It's all about policing to profit. It's said Baker Act designed to help, not punish. Suppose you're walking along the street and see a person clutching their chest and grabbing onto a light pole. Would you come to their aid? Most would. Now suppose that person was circling the pole and talking to it. Would you lower your head and hurry by, or even cross the street? Most would. Terry Ashley used the preceding example to illustrate common perceptions about mental illness. It's a rush to judgment many of us make, she said. Mental illness carries a stigma physical illness does not, yet the brain is an organ of the body just like the heart, lungs, kidneys and the rest. In fact, the brain might be the most serious organ, since it runs the rest of them. Ashley is the Director of Business Development for the Riverside Behavioral Center at Bayfront Health Punta Gorda. Riverside is a 52-bed, private psychiatric hospital department offering acute, inpatient adult and geriatric services. Our focus is on adults, Ashley said, but we help all our patients any way we can. Patients are admitted to either the geriatric treatment unit or the general adult treatment unit to receive individualized care from expert clinical teams. Riverside's 90-person staff includes psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, therapists, nurses and psychiatric technicians. Most of Riverside's patients come from emergency rooms and other hospitals, which can be as far away as Ocala, Naples or Sebring. Under the Baker Act, a state law permitting involuntary hospitalization of the mentally ill. Self-referrals, those people voluntarily seeking treatment, make up the second highest number of patients, followed by those also admitted under the Baker Act by law enforcement officials. Riverside is presenting a series of Lunch and Learn seminars this year on the Baker Act, the first being Wednesday, when Ashley will lead a discussion on the history of Dan Mearns, columnist. The Florida Mental Health Act of 1971, Florida Statute 394.451-394.47891, 2009 Reverend, commonly known as the Baker Act, allows the involuntary institutionalization and examination of an individual. The Baker Act allows for involuntary examination, what some call emergency or involuntary commitment. It can be initiated by judges, law enforcement officials, physicians, or mental health professionals. There must be evidence that the person possibly has a mental illness, as defined in the Baker Act, is a harm to self, harm to others, or self-neglectful, as defined in the Baker Act. Examinations may last up to 72 hours after a person is deemed medically stable and occur in over 100 Florida Department of Children and Families designated receiving facilities statewide. There are many possible outcomes following examination of the patient. This includes the release of the individual to the community or other community placement, a petition for involuntary inpatient placement, what some call civil commitment, involuntary outpatient placement, what some call outpatient commitment, or assisted treatment orders, or voluntary treatment, if the person is competent to consent to voluntary treatment and consents to voluntary treatment. The involuntary outpatient placement language in the Baker Act took effect as part of the Baker Act reform in 2005. The act was named for a Florida state representative from Miami, Maxine Baker, who had a strong interest in mental health issues, served as chair of a House Committee on Mental Health, and was the sponsor of the bill. The nickname of the legislation has led to the term Baker Act as a transitive verb, and Baker acted as a passive voice verb, for invoking the act to force an individual's commitment. Although the Baker Act is a statute only for the state of Florida, use of Baker acting as a verb has become prevalent as a slang term for involuntary commitment in other regions of the United States. 3. Not in citation given. Clarification of Baker Act criteria. Edit. Specific criteria must be met in order to initiate involuntary examination. Among those criteria are the following elements, that by themselves do not qualify an individual as having met or meeting the criteria. Reason to believe that the person has a mental illness. Refusal of voluntary examination. The person is unable to determine whether examination is necessary. Criteria are not met simply because a person has mental illness, appears to have mental problems, takes psychiatric medication, or has an emotional outburst. Criteria are not met simply because a person refuses voluntary examination. Criteria are not met if there are family members or friends that will help prevent any potential and present threat of substantial harm. The criteria, as stated in the statute, mentions a substantial likelihood that without care or treatment the person will cause serious bodily harm in the near future. Substantial means ample, considerable, firm or strong. To further clarify this point of substantial likelihood, there must be evidence of recent behavior to justify the substantial likelihood of serious bodily harm in the near future. Moments in the past, when an individual may have considered harming themselves or another, do not qualify the individual as meeting the criteria. Near means close, short, or draws near. 4.
Hey, Sheriff, we have a question about why your office, your intelligence division, is investigating private citizens for criminal investigation that happen to be activists that are overseeing your department. Why would you have your intelligence division investigate private citizens? We have done...
for life hating so much.
Sir, we don't hate anyone. We love freedom and we love American people. And government is out of control. That's why you're seeing such a revolt nationwide. Why can't you just answer, why is Susan Edwards, your intelligence division, investigating private citizens? This should not happen.
Are you here to apply for a job?
Possibly I might be applying for a job, but that's irrelevant to my question. Why would you ask that question?
Well, enjoy the fair.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Excuse you?
Excuse me, sir.
So those of you that haven't
Wow.
been on a bike before, we're
Sheriff's
just
getting a little too pushy.
is
You
the
work
hard
for
part.
us, Sheriff.
In
Just
keeping
keep that in mind. At one time we respected you, but not with that type of attitude.